get picked up on the live stream. So even though you can hear it in here. Thank you.
Tēnā tātou katoa, councillors. Welcome to our meeting this morning. Before we open our meeting proper, I'm going to pass the rākei to Councillor Tafau for our opening karakia.
Tēnā koe, Madam Chair, tēnā tātou katoa. Me nui tātou. E te atua nui tonu ko mātou e nei e inui atu nei ki a koe. Kia tau mai te maramatanga ki a mātou whakarite mō tēnei rā. Arahina hoki mātou e ke ai te oranga tonu ki ngā āhuatanga katoa a ngā tangata. Ki tō mātou rohe whānui tonu. Āmine.
Āmine. Ngā mihi. As we all know, our meeting is live streamed. So can I remind councillors and staff that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and that the recording will be made available on the Bay of Plenty Regional Council website following the meeting. I further remind all present that local government decision-making affords no protection to councillors, council officers and the public for comments made during meetings that are subsequently challenged in a court of law and determined to be slanderous. Can I now call for apologies? I have one apology has been received from Councillor Kumar. Are there any other apologies for this meeting? Thank you. Can I have a mover and seconder for the apologies, please? Councillor Karetai and Councillor Campbell. All those in favour say aye. Those against? Thank you. Carried. Public forum. There are no public forum speakers for this meeting. Items not on the agenda. I have not been advised of any late items for this agenda. Order of business. There are no changes to the order of business. Declaration of conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to be declared for this agenda? None. Thank you. Minutes to be confirmed. We turn to page 9. The Regional Council minutes of the 30th of October 2025. Are there any amendments or matters arising? Those minutes. There are none. Can I have a mover and seconder to confirm the minutes, please? Councillor Defoe, Councillor Shirley. All those in favour say aye. Those against? There are none. Carry. Going to our reports on page 16, our first report. I will hand to Steve to speak to the report.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, councillors. Welcome to your first meeting of council. The first report and all the reports are in my name, so you may be sick of my face by the end of the day. 273 pages to get through, so we'll make a start. The first report is regarding your governance structure. I'd like to kind of begin by acknowledging Coral, who's behind me and will join me at the table for some of the items, and Torna, both of whom have put a huge amount of effort into producing the papers for this meeting. So the governance structure paper, page 16 of your agendas. Governance structure is a key milestone in establishing yourselves as a governing group and indicates your approach to leading for our region. This paper has been informed by your discussion throughout the induction program. In particular, you have highlighted a focus on value and efficiency for ratepayers, multi-generational decision-making and creating vehicles for strategic discussion at a regional and council level, a focus on a region-wide approach to climate action, enabling a logical and connected flow of work through council that enables evidence-based decision-making, and a focus on regional relationships and working with partners for effective and efficient delivery. This paper and its recommendations give effect to your areas of focus. I want to note 2 amendments to the recommendations from the published agenda. The first is that I have erroneously called the Regional Transport Committee the Regional Public Transport Committee in recommendation 2. This is corrected in the recommendations, which we'll show on the screen. And all other aspects of this recommendation are correct. Further, in consultation with partner councils, we decided, subsequent to the papers for this meeting being published, to retain the existing name for the Eastern Bay of Plenty Joint Committee in recommendation 9. rather than renaming it the Eastern Bay of Plenty Joint Committee. This is corrected in the recommendation on screen, and all other aspects of this recommendation are correct. On another Eastern Bay of Plenty matter, staff are recommending one change to the Ohiwa Harbour Implementation Forum terms of reference based on discussion with prior members of the forum to clarify that tangata whenua members are appointed by iwi, with Whakatauhia appointing one member plus having the option to appoint a hapu rep from Upokarehi. This does not change the overall makeup of the committee membership, but rather clarifies the appointment process. With that said, I'm happy to take questions or discussion.
I have two questions. One is, it's around the climate governance group or the proposed climate governance. If we set a name now, do we have to live with that in on, or will we have the flexibility to find a name that actually lands and resonates with all the members?
Yeah, absolutely. You can change your governance structure at any time by resolution of council. So it would just be a matter of returning to council and changing the name or any aspects of the terms of reference.
The only reason I raised that is because of feedback from various community members, basically pushing back on the whole term climate change, but being open to adaptation, mitigation. And so whether we can just factor that into the name, and that's a huge big signal. Thank you.
Councillor McMillan.
Tēnā koe. Yeah, just on the climate change, and this is just really the description that I'm slightly querying. Just so it's 3.2 on page 23. It talks about, so the last sentence there, it says it provides for the evolution of council's role to ensure the Bay of Plenty region can adapt to a changing climate and increasingly severe weather and collaborate across the region on transport emission reductions. To me, that's a bit narrow in terms of emission reductions. You know, with our current LTP strategic plan, you know, we're looking at things like circular economy, blue carbon, sustainable land use, that trifecta of freshwater biodiversity and emissions reduction. So just, I think it should probably not have the word transport in there, or if it has transport, then it should be broader. I know we can't dictate to people how they use their land, but emissions come from a much, we've got a regional waste management strategy, going into an interregional waste management strategy and all of those things. So I don't know what we can do there, but because it's not part of the actual recommendation, it's just part of the corridor in the, yeah.
Through you, Chair, if I can just respond to that. I think if you recall through the kind of deliberative discussions leading up to this group being proposed, the idea of this group was that it formed the approach to leadership of climate action across the region, but wasn't intended as the permanent body that did that. So I think that could be something that's flushed out. Those kind of definitional things could be flushed out through the development of the terms of reference, which would then need to be adopted by council and all of the partner councils involved.
Yeah. So, okay. So just noting that, I suppose. Thank you.
Perhaps we should just take out the transport word and make it emission reduction. That would fix that. I totally get that. But I think that we have to be careful that this description isn't just a little bit narrow, and that the intention is to create like a map of what's happening in the whole region, and mitigation, adaptation and retreat.
We can note that in the minutes.
We move, Madam Chair, recommendations 1 to 16 if there's no other
I
Whereas-
just had one point that I wanted to raise around page 43 for the proposed Rotorua Development Joint Committee, which we hopefully have an amendment on the table. So before we move, can we just have a look at that? And the rationale, as we discussed, was just that we have the Rotorua Development Joint Committee, and as it stands in the report at the moment, it's got representatives only from the Rotorua electorate. And there is a big benefit in us having representation across the bay so that we have buy-in to some of the decisions that are being made at that table.
Tona has amended the recommendation accordingly, so I'll let Tona or Steve speak to the amendment that we've made.
Yeah, so essentially an amendment to give effect to that point in recommendation 8.
Move the amendment. Thank you.
And a seconder for that amendment?
Through the chair, just to clarify, we had councillor Crosby moving the whole resolution with the amendments. So maybe we can rather call for a seconder to accept that rather than,
Doing it separately?
yeah,
All right.
that's okay. Thank you.
So we've got a mover in councillor Crosby. We need a seconder for that motion. Councillor McMillan, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Any against? There are none. Thank you. Carried.
Would you like me to keep rolling?
Yes, please.
Chair?
Yes, please.
Excellent. Okay, on to the second one.
Yeah. Yes.
So the second paper, we're on page 94 of your agenda now. And this relates to the remuneration for elected members. So you've been briefed on the rules and framework for determining your remuneration as stipulated by legislation and the Remuneration Authority. As outlined, the Remuneration Authority determines a remuneration pool, which in total must be allocated. There is flexibility about how you choose to allocate within the stipulated pool, and the paper outlines some possible options. I note that the settings of the council in the 2022 to 25 triennium was to remunerate the deputy chair at an additional 30% over the rate for a councillor with no additional responsibilities, and a committee chair at 13% over the rate for a councillor with no additional responsibilities, to reflect the additional responsibilities and time commitments inherent in those roles. With that said, I'm happy to take questions.
Any questions, councillors? There don't appear to be any questions. I'll take a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Shirley.
So we'll just need to clarify what
Which
you're moving.
option?
So the recommendation at the moment is blank. So if you're if you're moving option 1A, which essentially continues the existing.
Oh, can we go to the screen? Oh, we go.
Kia ora, Chair.
So we
I'd
have a
like to move option 1A, please.
Do we have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
And thank you for your time on this too, Steve. Ngā mihi.
All those in favour say aye. Those against, any against? There are none. Thank you.
Excellent. So we move now to page 112 of your agendas, the elected members' expenses and allowances policy. The Remuneration Authority sets the framework for allowable expenses of council, and council are required to adopt an expenses and allowance policy at the commencement of the triennium to give effect and provide clarity to allowable expenses within this framework. Staff are recommending that council adopt separate policy documents for elected members and appointed members to provide improved clarity. Other changes from the previous policy include recommendations to adopt the new home security allowance, which is in line with that available to members of parliament and reflects the modern local government environment and well-documented trend of heightened discourse and threats. a range of wording changes to create improved clarity and remove alcohol as a claimable expense. There are a couple of minor corrections and clarifications to be made to the paper subsequent to this agenda being published, which I would like to state for the record here. The table at 3.2 on page 119 of your agenda incorrectly states that the removal of the maximum limit for meals is a disadvantage. This is incorrect. The amended policy proposal does not propose the removal of a maximum limit. Point 4.2 on page 120, the leave of absence should include the words "or the council" after chairperson, with the same being reflected in the attached policy. In the attached policy, point 5 on page 136 of your agenda, I have erroneously truncated the sentence, which should conclude with a reference to as described in section 4.7.1. In the same section, the word mayor is replaced with chair, deputy, or committee chair. With those corrections stated for the record, I'm happy to take questions.
Questions, councillors? Councillor McMillan?
Option 1.
Have a mover for option 1 by Councillor McMillan. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Karatai. All those in favour, say aye. Those against? There are none. Carried. Thank you.
Excellent, we're moving
Back to
through
you,
it.
Steve.
So we move to page 140 of your agendas, appointed members, expenses and allowances policy. This paper outlines the policy regarding members appointed under Schedule 7 of the Local Government Act. As previously noted, staff are recommending that council adopt separate policy documents for elected members and appointed members to provide improved clarity. Staff recommend reviewing meeting fees payable to appointed members and chairs, as remuneration has not been reviewed in around a decade. Staff recommend using the cabinet fees framework as a guide in reviewing these meeting fees, along with setting out a process for future reviews of these expenses. Just a note to the recommendations. In recommendations 3 and 4, we're removing the words council committee, and this will be amended and displayed on the screen when you consider the item. And this is to ensure the recs are logically consistent with recommendation 7. With that said, happy to move to questions.
Through Chair.
Campbell.
Steve, can I just ask, for those people that are for their meeting allowances, is there travelling expenses included or over and above? Some of these people travel a long way.
Yeah, so travelling expenses is a separate expense within the policy that they can claim for.
I haven't read that right through. I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you for that.
Councillor McMillan.
Oh, I can't find where it's written now, but and it's not that I oppose it, but it just seems quite old-fashioned, this thing about to the LGNZ conference that the chair takes their partner and that the council pays for the partner and that the partner trundles off to a partner's regional tour. It just seems like it was set up for a wives of I don't know, it's just, to me, it just is a really conservative framework that just seems so out of date. And it's not that I don't want the chair to be able to take their partner, so I'm not saying we should necessarily remove it, but it just seems astonishing to me. I don't know, maybe it's just the way I'm looking at it, but for our ratepayers and residents to pay for partners to go on a tiki tour around and have a play in a region whilst the chair's doing business. I don't know.
Councillor McMillan, I understand that's on the next report. Am I correct?
I was going to say, I
Previous.
can't find it.
Oh, in the previous,
Yeah.
sorry,
Oh,
I
it's
thought it
there.
was in this
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah, but look, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just a comment, really.
Is it possible for us to revisit, given we've gone past that report? Can we say,
Bothered about taking it away. It's just a comment, really. It just sounds quite archaic to me.
Gee, I think it's the right time to talk about it though.
yeah, I tend to agree with you. I tend to agree.
So you've passed a resolution adopting the policy. Tauna, I might go to you for advice about that.
So if you are going to reverse your resolution, you just need a majority of 75% because you're doing it within the same meeting. So that means in this context, 13 councillors, 9 people have to then vote for the change. Thank you.
Yeah,
Look, I'm not bothered about. I'm just noting it. So if people are happy to leave it there, I'm not fussed about going for that admin. It just
maybe it's something that we can leave to the discretion of the chair when the decision is made to take, given that our previous visit wasn't about taking spouses, it was about taking councillors to that as well. So I think in that respect, we
Yeah.
can leave that to the discretion of the chair.
Chair, can I just also say that, and councillor Crosby will know what I'm talking about here. Over the years, we've seen some pretty questionable things going on at local government conferences, even where people have decided that not to attend to meetings and go on trips around the South Island and end up in hospital after a car crash. Golfing while there was business to be done and not attending. And so I think it is time that we're going to start and try and clean the slate. Let's do it now, because honestly, it is questionable, and people are starting to find these things out. And I think it's time we did talk about it. Thank you.
Is that an issue with the policy or just the people?
Just the people here. That's a good one. I've got to be careful here when I say that. Look, when mayors go on golf trips rather than go and attend conferences and take their wives and friends with them, it is questionable. So I think what our chair just said, if you're going to go on a trip and not attend business, it should be at her discretion whether you go or not, if you don't want to change the policy.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Scrimgeour.
No, we'd passed, but I did miss another item I wanted clarification on. Able to ask about that? So just under the definition of leave of absence, I know here it says that elected members must cease all formal and informal duties, including attending meetings and dealing with constituents. And I thought that word must was pretty extreme. And I've been in situations, the last time I was overseas, I took calls from a constituent and tried to help them resolve their issue, even though I had leave of absence. And I think it seems ridiculous to say here that we must cease all contact like that, because our constituents don't know whether we're on leave or not. And certainly previous council I was in was deliberately not made public so that they weren't aware we're away from home and all those sort of things. So they're still going to contact us when they have a problem. And we, in my view, it's appropriate that we assist them and give them direction of where to go for assistance. So I was just a bit concerned about the wording here that it says we must cease all, or must cease dealing with constituents in particular. Whether anyone else has got a view. But
Madam Chair, I could make a comment on that. The Remuneration Authority on their website gives that definition of what a leave of absence is. I'm pretty sure, and it's basically an extended leave of absence, a formal leave of absence that is granted, means that you do not take any part in acting as a councillor, and that includes dealing with constituents. So it is it's a very specific definition. Yeah.
What's the consequence if we breach it?
yes.
I'm not sure about that. I think it would be the idea behind a leave of absence as I said, is I think it's that it's you are not participating at all. So it is it's a very specific kind of formal process. Yeah.
Councillor Defoe.
Chair, I'm just wanting to know, in that case, we will be just ourselves, so we can just just be ourselves if that ever came apart, so that wouldn't have such a effect on us if we did still help them. I'm just not acting as a councillor.
just being a
I'm
good guy.
being myself, a community man of Rotorua that's got a high profile at the moment in regards to just happening to sit at a council table. And I'm not giving council advice. I'm just helping as myself.
Morena tatou, and through the chair, in practice, it's very unlikely that councillors take leave of absence. So in this day and age, say if you are on an overseas trip, you may want to come back into meetings. These requirements are when it's more than 15 to 30 days, and there'll be good reason for a councillor to take leave of absence and get that approved. So it's really in terms of your welfare, making sure that if you do need a leave of absence, that you can have that leave of absence. In my experience, it's very rare for councillors to take leave of absence for that sort of duration. And I can only recall once in the last few years where we've had a councillor who's taken that length of leave of absence, and they did require it for their health. So it's that sort of incident, but it is for more than 15 days leave of absence.
Ask then in response to that clarification from Fiona, if I'm going away for 3 weeks holiday, I don't need to apply for a leave of absence. Is that what we're being told?
Through the chair, if you can work anywhere in the world these days, and we have had councillors around this table actually come in from all over the place, and so yes, you don't have to be physically located in the Bay of Plenty.
Okay, thank you for that.
Councillor Karatai.
Further to the discussion before about expectations, attending conferences and things like that, maybe that has to be something new to look at, creating a set of expectations of how we expect everybody to behave and what their commitment is when we travel. So it might not be a thing that needs to be addressed today, but a future conversation. So would change the policy based on that korero later on, rather than a minor change now to what might be a major piece of work.
I've just got one question, and it was just on the discussion around professional development of councillors and where that budget sits, because we've got remuneration, allowances and expenses, but where's the transparency between those other educational, is that in here or not?
Yes, personal development is covered in the expenses policy of travelling. Yeah.
Is it under travel? I don't.
Sorry, I'll just reorientate myself with the agenda.
Okay, so all of that budget is all covered within the overall that we're approving.
Yes, and it's my understanding that each councillor has an allocation
Okay,
for professional development.
That's correct.
okay, that's cool, as long as it's transparent in here. So if anyone questions why we've been on a training course, that we could say that it was all approved here, that's all.
Through you, Chair, it's also transparent, it's reported publicly. Number of meetings you attended, all your allowances, including professional development, is reported publicly. Yeah.
Any other questions? Councillor Scrimgeour, did you have your queries answered?
With the responses we've had, thank you.
Just to note too that some of us that have been overseas We have participated in Zoom sessions. I think Councillor Shirley was probably the latest when he was overseas, that he was zooming into some of our councillor sessions. Okay, thank you. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you. So if I can reorientate us, I think we're on the appointed members' expenses and allowances policy. I can't recall if we had a mover or a seconder for that. So that's probably where we're up to.
I need a mover and seconder to receive that report, please. Councillor Defoe, Councillor Grayling. All those in favour say aye. Those against, there are none. Thank you, carried. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Chair. We move to page 159 of your agenda, adoption of code of conduct. So Schedule 7 of the Local Government Act requires council to adopt a code of conduct, which remains in force until amended by council. Adoption and amendment of a code of conduct requires a 75% vote. Councillors will note the Local Government Systems Improvement Bill has been introduced to Parliament and is currently before the Select Committee. The bill would enable the Secretary for Local Government to introduce a standard code of conduct and require councils to adopt it. Prior to the local government elections, a draft was provided for feedback, which Bay of Plenty Regional Council responded to. With the government indicating that a standard code of conduct is likely to be adopted by councils, staff recommend that council agree to retain the existing code of conduct in the interim. Happy to take questions.
Councillor Vanderboom.
Through you, Madam Chair. In earlier discussions, you mentioned the copywriting issue for the new standing orders. Can any of LGNZ members push back on that and say we will stay with our existing standing orders, or are we obliged to take on whatever is directed to us?
You'll be obliged to take on whatever is directed to you, assuming the Systems Improvement Bill legislation passes. Both us and Local Government New Zealand raised the copyright issue and providing feedback. And we haven't, to be fair, we haven't had clarity from Department of Internal Affairs or Standards New Zealand about whether that will be an issue or not, or whether there's a proposal to work around that.
Crosby.
Oh, just quickly, last week, Minister Watts indicated that the Systems Amendment Bill should be enacted in the first quarter of next year. Not far away.
Yeah, not far away.
Any other questions, councillors?
The Chair, with regards to resolution or recommendation 3, that is simply discusses the adoption of the standardised code. That's when that comes through. We will bring it back to you so you see what it looks like, and we can then do a final adoption of the new standing orders or code of conduct in this context. Same for standing orders. Thank you.
Chair, I'm happy to move recommendations 1 to 4.
Councillor Crosby, can I have a second? Thank you. Councillor Graham. All those in favour say aye. Those against, there are none.
Sorry, through the Chair, procedurally, can I ask you to hold up your hands to show 75% majority?
Thank
Have a
you.
mover and seconder. All those in favour say aye. Those against, there are none. Carried. Thank you. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you. All right, last one. So adoption of standing orders, page 193 of our agenda. Schedule 7 of the Local Government Act requires council to adopt a set of standing orders, which remains in force until amended by council. Adoption and amendment requires a 75% vote. Again, the Local Government Systems Improvement Bill has been introduced to Parliament. The bill would enable the Secretary for Local Government to introduce a standard set of standing orders and require councils to adopt it. With the government indicating that a standard code is likely to be required to be adopted by councils, staff recommend that council agree to retain the existing code of, standing orders in the interim. Happy to take questions.
Councillor Scrimger.
Can't quite find it yet, but I did have a question in regard to public forum. I'm pretty sure it said a provision of 15 minutes at the start of each meeting for public forum, which in my experience would prove to be limiting on some occasions. And so I was just wanting clarification. Is there flexibility around that if there, for instance, were a number of speakers who wanted to speak? And are there limitations on individual speakers or presentations in public forum?
Through you, Chair, historically, the council has operated quite flexibly on that and enabled additional time for public forum where that's required. Yeah.
Thank you.
A lot of that is actually left to the discretion of the chair on the day as well. Some chairs will allow more than others. So it varies from committee to committee.
Wanting to be satisfied that there was some flexibility, it wasn't held too rigidly. Thank you.
Madam Chair, it actually says a period of up to 15 minutes or such longer time as the meeting may determine will be available. So it is flexible.
Any other questions for the report?
Move the recommendation, Chair.
You, Councillor Campbell. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Vanderboom. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against? There are none. Thank you. Carry. Excellent. This must be a record time that we've ever come to in a meeting. Thank you, everybody. And I want to thank councillors for doing your homework and reading your reports, coming prepared. It's obviously showed this morning with the questions and you're being happy with what's being presented by staff. Thank you for the staff for comprehensive reports. That's enabled us to get through this meeting quite quickly, Steve and your team. And once again, thank you, everybody. That is the end of our meeting today. So I'll hand to Councillor Defoe, unless there are any other councillors that wish to speak before we have our closing karakia. There are none. Ka koe, iwi.
Nā koe Chair, tēnā koe Fiona, o te rā koutou ngā kaimahi o tēnei o toi moana. Thank you everybody for today and let us close. Kia tātou katoa, te ata whai o tō tātou ariki a ihu karaiti, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga taitanga ki te wairua tapu, ake, āmine, tēnā tātou.